Brian Simmons on the call as well.
I'd like to call the special electronic telephonic village board meeting for the Village of Cary for Tuesday, April 14th, 2020 to order with roll call, please.
Betts,
Here.
Collier,
Here.
Covelli,
Here.
Kraus,
Here.
McAlpine,
Here.
Weinhammer.
Thank you. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Allegiance to
of
the
the United
flag
States of
of the
America,
United States of America,
for which it stands,
and
one
nation
nation,
republic
under God,
for which it
indivisible,
stands,
with liberty
one
and
nation,
justice
one
for all.
faith, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Justice for all.
Awesome. Thank you. I'd like to call the open forum, which is a little bit of an adjustment today. The meeting will be convened by electronic means. However, the village is providing the public with the ability to comment via email submission. Any comments can be submitted to villagehall@caryillinois.com at least 1 hour prior to the meeting. Additionally, the village is planning to audio record and live stream the meeting and make the recording available to the public as soon as practical. As of 6 o'clock this evening, we've had no one call to email in with any questions. So I will go forward and close open forum at 6:01. Quick update for the mayor's report. We continue to deal with COVID-19 on a daily basis. I'm entrenched with conference calls with the governor's office, the Illinois Municipal League, Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, McCog, consoling fellow mayors and colleagues throughout the county, working diligently with staff. I have to give kudos to our staff, especially Courtney, who is handling our social media and getting all the information as soon as it becomes available out to the public. We greatly appreciate that. I believe that we have really done a good job in making sure that the public is aware of everything that's going on. And now with the conference calls that I have with the state and local government, we're going to start turning our discussions towards a recovery. So these are things that are not going to be easy to turn the switch back on. We're anxiously awaiting what the governor wants us to do. We've all conveyed to him about getting the local government involved in his decision, and we'll see how that goes. So other than that, we continue to move along with the kind of whittled down workforce. We've got our staff working, half of them work Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays in 1 week, and Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then the next week, the workers that came in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday work Tuesdays and Thursdays and flip-flop. We continue to provide all the essential services to the residents and businesses of Cary. Moving on to trustee reports, I have none brought to my attention. Therefore, I will move forward I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items number 1 through 24 as listed on our website and shown on our YouTube channel. We'll pause for just a brief moment so that we can publicize that on our YouTube channel right now. We good?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're just going to
great.
we're showing the first one, and then he's still got to get to the second
Okay,
page.
that's fine.
So just for the village board's benefit, so the public can see all of the consent agenda items, we're displaying the first page here for approximately a minute, and then we'll display page 2 so the public can see those, and then we'll display page 3. This is, I just want to remind everyone too, it's also on our website and obviously on the front door of Village Hall, but just want to make sure there's ample time for folks to see what's on the consent agenda. So we can go to page 2, Jake.
I'm having a real hard time hearing. I can't hear anything.
Well, we're kind of at a brief hiatus for just a minute while we're publishing something on our live stream.
Okay, well, Mark, could you sing during that time for us, please?
Pardon me?
Forget it, it was a joke.
Okay, could I have a motion and a second, please?
I move, Ellen McAlpine moves.
Second by Kraus.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Betts,
Yes.
Collier,
Yes.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer.
Yes.
And then page 3, Jake.
It'll be just a moment before we go to items for separate action.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Yep.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution declaring official intent regarding alternate revenue bonds of the Village of Cary, McHenry County, Illinois.
So moved, Collier.
Second, McAlpine.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion or questions regarding this?
Yeah, just a quick update here for the village board. This is a first step here in issuing debt for our new Village Hall Police Station. The board is aware, obviously, of the project. There's an extensive schedule here and a process that we have to go through to issue debt for the project. For any specific questions, we do have Dan Forbes here from Spear Financial, but I wanted to turn it over to Mike Descharme, our Finance Director, to add additional detail and then introduce Dan Forbes to the village board.
The first item tonight, the reimbursement resolution. What it allows us to do is recover the costs that we will pay out for the architect and the construction manager prior to the issuance of the bonds. By approving the reimbursement resolution, it allows us to recover those costs once the bonds are sold.
Any questions regarding that?
We have with us tonight Dan Forbes, who's the president of Spear Financial, and we wanted him here this evening so that he could address any questions you have related to the issuance of the bonds or possibly related to COVID-19. Dan?
Collier, I have a question. Can we explain that, I know we're not to the point, but when the bonds, when we issue them and they're not bought or sold, or how that would work, or what the issues is with that?
Sure. Again, nice to talk with you all. I apologize about my phone presence, but I hope everyone can hear me. The bonds are scheduled for sale in early June, and there are various steps, the 30-day period, the binding hearing, all those sorts of steps that need to be completed under statutory law prior to the sale. The municipal market is a little, as in everything having to do with COVID-19, has had a little difficulty sort of finding its footing in the last few weeks. However, there are some positive signs, and we're very hopeful during the dual track of having the authorization performed by Cary, the officials, that at the same time we'll have all of the disclosure documents and everything else in place, and hopefully the municipal market will be such that we could sell these beginning of June and close mid to end of June.
Thank you, Dan. Any trustees have any questions for Dan?
No.
Okay, roll call, please.
Collier,
Just for point of clarity, we're on number 1, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Collier,
Yes.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to number 2. I will entertain a motion to approve the ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds, alternative revenue source, Series 2020 of the Village of Cary, McHenry County, Illinois, in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $11,500,000.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Want to take this?
Sure. This ordinance actually authorizes us to move forward with the issuance of bonds up to 11.
To pay for the bonds, we have pledged the village's electric utility tax as well as the sales tax. Originally, we had come to the board and asked that the video gaming tax
Pledged. But based on the fact right now that all of the video gaming terminals are shut down, not only to Curie, but across the state and probably farther,
we've substituted the sales tax for the video gaming tax just to provide us a little more comfort in terms of when we go in front of the rating agencies to sell the bonds. Once the ordinance is executed, the ordinance and the attached notices, one of them being a notice of a public hearing within the Northwest Herald within 10 days of approval. And after that, there will be a 30-day waiting period. If you have specific questions related to the ordinance, Dan Forbes would be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Michael. Do any of the trustees have any questions for Michael or Dan Forbes with Spear Financial? Okay.
And we are, for the board's benefit too, in knowledge, we're planning for that public hearing tentatively on May 5th, and that would be here in the village boardroom.
Thank you. A roll call, please.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Who was that?
Kraus,
Yep.
Me, okay, yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Collier.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to number 3, I will entertain a motion to approve the Village of Cary annual operating and capital budget for fiscal year May 1st, 2020 to April 30th, 2021.
So moved, Kraus.
Second, Betts.
Thank you. Michael, do you want to take this, please?
Sure, be happy to. From when we shopped in the middle of March, a lot has changed. First off, I hope everyone, including their families, is well. As we continue to move through this pandemic, I guess. The budget that we had presented to you was a balanced budget. And I have to say that we had plugged in everything we possibly could think of. We had even plugged in adjusting down our income tax revenue by the additional 5% that Governor Pritzker called out that would be held from all municipalities until such time as he could see if his graduated income tax will pass. We are all eager for that point in time to come to see if, in fact, he will hold our income, 5% of the income tax distributions or if it'll be released. But the budget we originally presented to you, I think, was not only realistic, but fairly conservative in the numbers we provided you. Since that time and with the pandemic, I can't tell you how many webinars I have sat through as a finance officer, not only with local officials, including managers and administrators within the state of Illinois and across the country, trying to figure out what the impact of this is going to be on our budgets going forward. Pretty much the consensus right now is certain revenues will be impacted, and it is estimated at this point in time that some of those revenue sources could be impacted as much as 25%. For the most part, the revenue sources that are going to impact the Village of Cary are, of course, sales tax, income tax I've flagged, and to a lesser degree, probably building permits. Building permits just from the fact that people can't get them, but hopefully those building permits will be issued at the point in time when everything is opened up. If I were to take or to attempt to quantify for you what the impact of those 25% of our sales tax and income tax revenues, it would be about $750,000. Now, we have no idea of knowing if, in fact, the government will be opened up, back up within the first quarter of the fiscal year. We are hopeful that things will start to head that way. But I'm sure even after that, there will be a period where it will take time for people to adjust to attempt to get back to normal. It is our intent at some point in time, after the end of the first quarter, or possibly even a month or two after that, depending on the impact and seeing what the outcome of this is, to come back to the village board with a fine-tune or a better estimate of how our budget could be impacted, and if necessary, we will amend it. At this point in time, without knowing what that exact impact is going to be, we're pretty much in the same boat as everyone around us, every municipality, every city, not only in Illinois, but across the country. If there is somewhat of a brighter light, the Village of Cary itself, we have available liquid cash to get us through the cash flow, at least for a reasonable period of time. We have a healthy fund balance, and that fund balance that appears on our books that we have worked to get to the level that it's at is to be used exactly for situations just like this. We would have hoped that it wouldn't have come as quickly as it has, but it's here, and it's something we're going to have to deal with. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have to the best of my ability based on the information that I have.
And for the village board's benefit too, just to add what Mike had to say, I just want to remind the public too, this is very awkward for us, obviously, to approve a budget electronically. I don't think that we're ever going to have to do this again, or I hope not anyways. But just to remind the board and the public, we have a rather lengthy budget review period, and we do that each and every year. You know, we started with our capital improvement plan in January 18th and reviewed that with the village board. We held our budget workshop meeting on March 14th, where we reviewed all the funds within the Village of Cary, all 11 funds. Since that time, we've made adjustments to the budget, as Mike had said. Not going to go through every one, but within the cover memo that was it's on the website and was sent to the village board, there's approximately $90,000 of cuts that were made to the budget. I do anticipate that we will, as Mike had alluded to, that we will come back to the village board sometime within the first 60 to 90 days, if not a little later, once we have a better handle of how this pandemic is impacting our budget. and talk about some possible amendments with the village board. But as Mike alluded to, we've been conservative in budgeting revenues. We got out in front of the state's potential issue of taking our income tax, an additional 5% for a total of 10% of our income tax receipts. That was not because we had planned this and saw this coming, the COVID-19 issue, but just as our conservative budgeting methods always carry through. So with that, right now the budget is balanced, but I do anticipate that we will have to come back with the village board during the fiscal year once we have more information.
Any trustees have any questions for Michael or Jake regarding the budget?
I do. This is Kim. My question is Michael, when you said that the potential impact or estimated impact was $750,000, how much of that impact is on this year's budget, and then how much next year's budget?
Trustee Cavelli, if I can,
I would expect to see the bulk of that impact in next year's or the upcoming budget that you're approving.
with the
In March, most of the revenues in the stream we will continue to receive just because there's a delay in the sales, the income tax, MFT, personal property replacement tax. We will continue to receive those disbursements. This week I was a little concerned because the IML had issued something that said that the state was planning to withhold the disbursements to local government. This week, that out the state would continue to make. There will be some impact felt in April from sales tax, primarily from all of the restaurants that closed down. See a little bit of it in terms of gas because people aren't driving as much and the cost of fuel is a lot less. I would be hopeful that the sales tax being generated out of our grocery stores, if it's like it's been in other communities, those sales should continue to be strong and we should see some cash flow from that. So the bulk of the impact that I'm expecting to see would come in the first 3 months of the new budget year. As we had stated, in the budget that we had presented to you at the end of March or in the middle of March at our budget workshop, originally we were projecting a surplus of close to $200,000 in the general fund. Just to be conservative, I'd be surprised if we had that surplus level at the end of the fiscal year based on the shutdown that we've experienced. But as we see information come in, that information will be forwarded to Jake, and Jake, I'm sure, will be get that information out to the board just so you have an idea of what some of the cash flow is that's coming into the village. We do expect something not at the normal levels we would expect, at least for a while. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you. And then, so with the impact potentially coming a little later and the items that were removed from the budget, there's still a significant difference in the potential impact. So then that is coming out of the liquid cash that you spoke about?
Trustee Cavelli, where that would come from, assume that we weren't able to recover it elsewhere, it would be a drawdown on the reserves that we've set aside that are out there just for this purpose of an emergency or of a cash flow issue.
Okay, and how much is in there?
There's unassigned fund balance dollars in the general fund.
It's approximately 48%. Our fund balance policy, if the board recalls, is a 45% fund balance policy. So there's some cushion there, which is good, and that's the reason why we have that, is for emergencies such as what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, if we're looking at, let's say, about $500,000, if you look at the next budget year, and then just the amount of money that was taken out of the budget, how much we still have deficit-wise. That's why I was asking these questions.
Yep.
I guess the best way I could frame it, just from the numbers that I've looked at in the primary revenue sources, the number that I projected was, and I pretty much was projecting that $750,000 to be felt in the first quarter of the new fiscal year.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for that information.
Do we have any other questions for staff?
Just one more time, I'd like to add the fact of that's assuming that the government were able to open up,
Sure.
let's say, within the first quarter of the year. No one knows that at this point in time. It appears that way, but that's something we're going to be watching for.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point to make, is there's just, on both sides of it, there's just really a lot of uncertainty. We don't know if are we going to get more money than we expect, or is it going to be much less than we expect? And that's why we will need to come back to the village board during the fiscal year, next fiscal year, and talk to the board about this and be able to adjust. And when I say, that's why we have fund balances, I don't want to dip into those fund balances at all, and we're going to try not to, but it could be tough for us to get through next fiscal year without using those fund balances.
One last point, if I could. I'd like to be able to tell you that we could just go in and figure out a way to reduce our expenses to cover the potential impact of something like this. But when the bulk, especially our general fund budget, is made up of 70 to 75% of contractual salaries for the most part and benefits, the portion that's really available to mitigate the amount that we're looking to possibly have to reduce, I'm just not comfortable, nor would I come to you and say we'd be able to reduce that. And based on what I'm seeing, the expectation that we're going to receive revenue in excess of what we budgeted in some of those other accounts would be a little far-fetched. So I think the easiest answer that I can provide is, for the most part at this point in time, we are relying on falling back on the fund balance reserve that we have available to us.
I have a question, Trustee Collier.
Go ahead,
Is
Dan.
there any emergency funds coming from the government, such as there is for individuals and small business in that, for municipalities, or is that an unknown?
That's it's an unknown right now. We, through our high-level conversations that we've had with the various COGs, the Illinois Municipal League, Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, we are currently looking at that. We've floated that idea by Senator Durbin yesterday, as a matter of fact, and we're looking at that right now at a very high level. I don't know if it will ever come to fruition. They're a little bit gun shy about it. They're mostly concerned right now about getting the small businesses back up and running, getting the employees back to work, and making sure that all these bridges are gapped. These gaps are bridged with the finances that they've allotted through the Small Business Association. So they are aware of it. We've asked for it. We've sent letters on the behalf of the village looking for opportunities like this, and we will continue to look for revenue sources such as this. But these are we're not, fortunately or unfortunately, we're not alone in this situation. And these are all unprecedented things that we are looking at and trying to work our way through this, that we could, coming out, much better than we are right now. But it's going to take some time to figure that out.
Thank you.
Mark, can I add a quick piece to that?
Pardon me?
Can I add a quick piece to that?
Sure.
What the CARES Act, the federal stimulus law, the second piece of legislation, if you've been reading some of this, is Scott Euler, reading some of the summaries of that legislation, it does provide a $150 billion distribution to state and local governments, and the legislation refers to local governments. Unfortunately, the definition of local governments cuts off at a threshold of 50,000 population. So it doesn't target small local governments, it targets larger populous communities at this point. We're hopeful the next wave can include legislation that is a little more friendly to smaller communities.
Correct. Okay, any other questions?
Kraus?
Yes.
McAlpine?
Yes.
Weinhammer?
Yes.
Collier?
Yeah.
Cabelli?
Moving on to number 4. I will entertain a motion to approve an ordinance approving a text amendment to Chapter 9, Board Review of the Unified Development Ordinance.
So moved. McAlpine. Second. Beth.
Brian's not on the call, is he? Are you going to take this, Jake?
Put you on my note. I'm sorry, I didn't put you on my little attendance sheet. I apologize, Brian. You snuck in on me.
That's not a problem. The board recalls of this item, we've discussed it, I believe it was back in December, was the last time it was discussed at the committee level. It went through the zoning board for review, but the recommendation is to add a associate member to the zoning board of appeals. As a non-home rule community, we have to conform to certain state statutes as far as the configuration of our zoning board and our planning commissions. In the case of the Village of Cary, we've combined both of those entities into a single body. So with any decisions that are reviewed, if the associate member is to be approved, the member would only be allowed to vote on items that would be reviewed by the Planning Commission responsibilities. That would include text amendments, map amendments, conditional uses, or similar items along those lines. If the ZPA is to review a variance or a appeal matter that would be reviewed by the ZPA, they would not be allowed to vote on that item or be counted towards a quorum in those particular instances. So the member would be present if the full board is present at the meeting and the associate member was there. They could also participate as a resident or member of the board, but they would not be allowed to vote on the matter if all of the other 7 members are present. The ZPA reviewed this back in February, and its recommendation of 6-0 recommended approval of the motion to add the associate member to the ZPA.
Any questions from the trustees?
This is Trustee Kraus. I have one. So the associate member wouldn't be able to vote on the variance or the appeal. Does that include rezoning of property?
No, so that would be considered a map amendment. So they would be able to vote on anything that would change the language of our code, like a text amendment, a map amendment, which would rezone property, conditional uses. Those would all be allowed. The associate member would be allowed to vote on those. If it's a variance, so if it's a setback variance, a height variance, parking variance, they would not be allowed to vote on those matters.
So the associate member then would be able to vote on some Councilman Green brought before the Zoning and Planning Board from changing a single-family parcel to a multifamily or to a commercial property?
Correct, yes. So if that request was just a straight zoning request, change from single family to a multifamily zoning, they would be allowed to vote on that portion of the petition.
Right,
Okay, and I make my, go ahead.
Can I add one thing, Jeff?
Sure.
This is Scott Euler. That particular recommendation on a rezoning or a map amendment does not affect the board vote in any way. So if the ZPA votes thumbs up or thumbs down on a rezoning or text amendment, the board does not have to respect that decision in any in the sense that a majority vote of any kind is required. That is the case with a variation, but it is, which this alternate member can't be part of, but it is not the case for a rezoning. So it comes fresh to the board, no matter what the recommendation is from the ZPA.
And if the rezoning required a supermajority, regardless of how the Zoning and Planning Board voted, the board would still need that supermajority?
Correct, independent of whatever the ZPA does. But the ZPA's action does not impact the requirements for the board. It does for variation.
Okay. And I think you tried to address my concerns in the past, and you said that, so I'm fine with where we're at.
Any other questions?
No.
Roll call, please.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
Betts, Betts,
Yes, could you hear me? That says yes.
Okay.
Collier,
Yes.
Cabelli,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Thank you. And our last items for separate action, I will entertain a motion to approve this. Well, first, let me, there was a Scribner's error in here. It states that it's a resolution on our cover sheet, but it's actually an ordinance. So I will entertain a motion to approve an ordinance directing the liquor commissioner to collect liquor license fees as established under ordinance 020-03-01.
So moved, Kraus.
We've talked about this before at the special board meeting. This is just giving final permission to roll the previous ordinance back to the original fees. So there's nothing new in that.
And just to add, all the other conditions will remain in effect. So we approved some requirements for Bassett training, insurance requirements. Those are still active. This is just rolling back the fees for this one year.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Collier,
Yes.
Cabelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine.
Yes.
Thank you. Jake, do you have anything for us tonight?
Mayor, Board, I just wanted to thank our staff and the board for all the work on the budget over the last 5 or so months. There's not many times when, we have public discussions about the budget, but there's really a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes by all of our staff and the board too. And I appreciate the time and commitment, and it's really a team effort, and we have a good team here working together for the betterment of the community.
Thank you. I will jump on that as well. Michael Ducharme, with your team and all the department heads, as you whittle down and whittle down and whittle down, we greatly appreciate all the efforts that you do on behalf of the village board and the residents and businesses. These are interesting times. We had a pretty solid budget at the end of March, and we had to make some significant, well, not so significant for some things, but you guys made it work. You always make us come out a little bit ahead. So on behalf of the village board, thank you guys for that. Department head reports. Department head reports. Chief Finland, do you have anything?
No, thanks.
Thank you. Brian Simmons, anything?
The only thing I'd like to add, just for any businesses that might be watching the video, is that we do have some information on our website for resources for businesses that, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic issues, there are some links for resources that are available there that are being basically updated on a daily basis. So trying to get resources to the business community so that they're aware of what type of grants or opportunities there may be available to them.
Thank you. Mike Ducharme, do you have anything else to add to this?
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. And I know Eric Morimoto has got a couple things you wanted to go over. Eric, are you there?
Sorry, I'm here. Just the mute button here. Apologize. Yes. I want to first thank my staff who, behind the scenes, has been obviously in a different configuration than we normally are, but they're continuing to work hard on delivering the core services for the village, especially on our water utility side. So I do thank them for all their hard efforts to do this important job in a very different manner and a difficult manner, but they're stepping up to the challenge. That being said, a couple updates. First, just a reminder, because of our current configuration during the pandemic, we are postponing the curbside brush pickup that is normally in spring, as well as the spring cleanup. So once we have a better idea of the timeline and the ability to get closer to normal, we will roll out the new dates and times that those might be restored. So at this time, we're just postponing with no date set currently. And then another update, more normal type of matter for Public Works, the emergency Spring Street culvert replacement project. As I mentioned in some of our weekly updates you might have seen, the project is substantially complete. So during the time period when, fortunately, traffic was lower, we were able to detour Spring Street, replace the culvert with our contractor's help. And we're just currently waiting for the asphalt plants to open up, which temperature-wise could be as soon as next week. We'll get the pavement restored, and then the street will be reopened to full traffic. So at this point, the detour is still in place, but like I mentioned, traffic is relatively low these days, so the disruption is relatively minor, but the road work will be completed very shortly. That's all I have.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any future agenda items or discussion by the village board?
No.
None said. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved by Beth.
All in favor?
Second,
You got those?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are no nays, so we will be adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
6:43. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Have a good evening.
You too.